Fracture is a game that takes place in the near future in 2161. And we want it to be plausible so that if you look 150, 160 years in the future from now, you could draw a line from here to there and go, yeah, we can get there.
Leaders from the Western...
To create this world, we've pushed the most divisive parts of today in our culture, like stem cell research or the Human Genome Project or things like global warming. What would that look like if we pushed it forward 160 years?
When we first started thinking about Fracture, we had this idea for terrain deformation. We thought that was going to make an incredible combat experience.
And you look at it and go, on that alone, I want to play this game. But what we're particularly proud of is the fact that
you started this,
we didn't miss on the story.
Make your move.
About 160 years in the future, humans have become a divided superhuman race. And because of all the catastrophes, the United States really isn't the United States anymore.
There's kind of the East Coast, which is referred to as the Atlantic Alliance, and the West Coast, which we refer to as the Pacificans.
There's two separate sides. They've embraced separate technologies.
And so the country started taking two different paths of evolution.
Shots fired. The Pacificans are genetic-based, where they're actually modifying their genetics to achieve their results, whether it be jump higher or run faster. And their genetics allow them to create a exosuit, which is kind of their shield, their protection.
On the other hand, you have the Alliance, who are much more cybernetic. It's the combination of man and machine. It's the combination of bolting on the accoutrements that make them bigger and badder.
There's kind of a flashpoint.
Alliance strike team is go.
And we take the player right to the shot fired that starts pretty much a world conflict that takes place on the United States soil.
The key element here to making the future of this game look plausible is to ground it in what you can look out your window and see today. We're going to put you in places where you can look off at postcard vista shots and then tilt it. And then realize that it is completely war-torn, it is completely destroyed, it is not what you thought.
We tried to create this world that had all this cataclysm that we get to in 2161. And we took all of that and we handed all of that to writers. We had our babies in our hands and we said, okay, here they are.
We inherited something that had all the pieces, but it wasn't fully there yet. It wasn't fully formed. It needed some work and some nurturing and some love. After that moment, now you know what her voice is and what
the writers that are primarily focusing on enriching our story and making sure the dialogue is tight. You know, we brought those guys in from Hollywood. These guys were pretty interesting. They had written for Jericho and they'd done a host of very interesting things, and we're seeing that show up in the writing.
I'm here to take you in, Nathan.
Then you should have brought more men, Roy.
For me, I'm a big gamer, and it was great to be in the room with a bunch of really smart people. Like, those day one guys are really smart because they'll pitch a whole thing, and then I get to be the guy who's like, yeah, but is that fun? Because maybe if you did this, that might be more fun. And they all kind of look at each other like, who's this guy? And then after a second, they're like, oh, wait, that kind of would be more fun. Maybe we can do that.
Writing for a video game is different than writing a movie or a TV show because you have to be a lot more thorough. If there's a challenge that's presented to the player and they haven't quite figured out how to get around it, you need to help them in a way that at first is just a gentle nudge. You have a character come on and give them hints.
Try to make some cover for yourself. It's your only chance.
And then gradually gets to be a 2x4 to the face. Use TD to lift the box and climb over the thing, stupid.
I've lost him.
So we created this world and different environments that we're going to fight in, and here's what it's done to our main character.
Jet Brody is a complete badass. He's our main character. He is a veteran. He understands the situation he's in, and he's the guy who can get it done.
Colonel, you seeing this?
Jet Brody is a good soldier, caught up in a bad situation, trying to make the best of it. He's young and tough, and he's very driven by the idea of wanting the conflict to end.
Lawrence is a compassionate hard ass.
Lawrence is, the old battle axe. He's the guy who's been around, he's been in tons of wars, a little jaded.
Brody, this is Colonel Lawrence.
And he is a real confidant for Jet. He's the guy who's sort of the mentor as you go through the game.
I'll be watching the feed from your ocular implant as you do recon.
The relationship between Jet Brody and Colonel Lawrence is like a father-son relationship.
Same old Lawrence, always looking over my shoulder.
Get serious.
And I really like Lawrence because he's good to Jet, but also he doesn't tolerate his crap. And if you're taking too long to do something, he's gonna get in your face about it.
General Sheridan is the leader of the Pacifican Rebellion in Fracture.
Sheridan's a psycho with enormous ego and military clout to back his psychoness.
You really think you got this close to me by accident?
He's pissed off at the Atlantic Alliance.
You started this by taking away our rights.
I mean, he is the primary nemesis in the game.
General Sheridan,
He is so wrapped up in genetics and what genetics can possibly do and what it's done for him.
Sheridan was the toughest because you really wanted to ride that fine line between bad guy and mustache-twirling villain. Mwahaha! You are mine, Jet Brody. But you can't do that. You gotta write a guy that you can relate to.
Man, he's somewhere in my control center.
Don't shoot.
Yeah, and Mariko definitely needed the most work. She needed to have a reason for being in the game other than just being saved.
How are you in my head?
Okay. So one of the things that we did was we gave Mariko some abilities to really tie her into the story, to make her a hero in her own right and not just a woman that needs to be saved. She also needed to be necessary for you to be able to beat the game. In the end, Jet can't succeed without Mariko.
What I hope that people get from Fracture is that I hope they have a great time, but I also hope that they start to see the potential for good story in game, because that's really what we wanted to bring to it. Because when you're done, people can say, wow, that's kind of like playing a movie, and they really feel like they're getting a full experience out of it. It's not just a shoot 'em up, it's a whole realized world that they can be a part of.